Chosen one, take a breath with me for a second. Before you think about the next task, the next notification, the next responsibility pulling at your attention, just pause. I want you to become aware of yourself in this exact moment. Not the version of you from last year. Not the version of you from 5 years ago. Not even the version of you from a few months back, when things felt heavier, more confusing, more uncertain. I mean you right now. If you were to stand in front of a mirror and really look, not to criticize, not to measure, not to judge, but simply to observe, you would notice something different. Maybe it's subtle. Maybe it's not something you can immediately put into words. But there is a depth in your eyes that wasn't there before. There is a steadiness in your spirit that has been earned. You have walked through something, and you did not come out the same. This season has changed you in ways that are not flashy or loud. There was no dramatic announcement, no grand moment where everything suddenly made sense. It happened quietly, in the middle of ordinary days, in the silence after conversations, in the long nights when you were alone with your thoughts. While other people were busy living their lives, something sacred was unfolding inside of you. You may have thought nothing was happening. You may have felt stuck. You may have wondered if you were going in circles. But beneath the surface, there was movement. Beneath the confusion, there was construction. Beneath the delay, there was design. You have grown in places that no one else could see. Think about the heartbreak you carried without posting about it. The disappointment you swallowed because you didn't want to burden anyone. The prayers you whispered when your faith felt thin, but you still chose to hope. Those moments were not empty. They were not wasted. They were forming you. There is a kind of growth that only happens in hidden places. Seeds do not sprout in applause. Roots do not deepen in front of an audience. The most important transformation happens underground, where no one is clapping, no one is validating, no one is even aware. And that is exactly where you have been doing your work. You were not being ignored. You were being prepared. I know there were days when it felt like your timeline had stalled, like everyone else was moving ahead while you were still waiting. Waiting for clarity, waiting for breakthrough, waiting for the next open door. But what if the delay was not denial? What if it was alignment? Preparation is rarely comfortable. It stretches you. It exposes what needs healing. It forces you to sit with parts of yourself you would rather avoid. But it also strengthens you in ways that success alone never could. You were not forgotten in your isolation. You were being forged. There were tears that no one saw. Conversations you rehearsed in your head but never had. Battles you fought internally while smiling externally. You showed up for work. You showed up for family. You showed up for friends. All while carrying a weight that would have crushed an earlier version of you. And yet here you are. That alone is significant. Survival is not small. Survival is sacred. But what you have done is more than survive. You have evolved. You have allowed the fire to refine you instead of harden you. You have chosen growth instead of bitterness. That choice, repeated over and over again in quiet moments, is what has built the strength you now carry. You don't react the way you used to. You don't chase the way you used to. You don't panic the way you used to. There is a space now between stimulus and response. There is wisdom where there used to be impulse. That space is maturity. That wisdom is earned. The storms that once would have consumed you now pass through without uprooting you. You still feel things deeply. You still care. But you are no longer drowning in every wave. That is transformation. And I need you to understand something clearly. This is not self-improvement in the shallow sense. You didn't just change your habits or routines. This shift goes deeper than productivity hacks or mindset tricks. This is a restructuring of your inner world. The version of you that constantly needed reassurance is fading. The version of you that explained yourself to be understood is loosening its grip. The version of you that bent yourself into smaller shapes to fit into rooms that were too tight for your calling is dissolving. You are remembering who you were before survival became your personality. There was always an original design, a core version of you that was not anxious, not performing, not shrinking. That version is resurfacing, and it feels unfamiliar at first, because you have not lived from that place in a long time. But it feels right. You may have noticed that certain things no longer hold your attention the way they used to. Drama feels exhausting. Chaos feels unnecessary. Conversations that revolve around negativity feel heavy. It's not that you think you're better than anyone. It's that your spirit has outgrown certain frequencies. Growth changes your appetite. You are craving depth now. You are craving peace. You are craving purpose over performance. That craving is evidence of your evolution. And with that evolution comes release. Some people have drifted. Some connections have thinned out. Some doors quietly closed without explanation. And maybe part of you wondered if you did something wrong. Maybe you replayed conversations in your head, trying to pinpoint the moment things shifted. But what if the shift was not about failure? What if it was about fit? Not everyone is meant to walk with the version of you that is emerging. Some relationships were built around shared wounds, shared confusion, shared survival. When you begin to heal, those foundations no longer hold in the same way. It does not make you cold. It does not make you disloyal. It makes you aligned. Letting go without bitterness is a sign of strength. Releasing without revenge is a sign of healing. You are no longer trying to drag everyone into your next chapter. You are allowing space for those who are meant to meet you there. Your circle may look smaller. Your calendar may look quieter. But your spirit feels clearer. That clarity is worth more than noise. There is also something else happening that you may not have fully acknowledged yet. The constant anxiety that once hummed in the background of your life is losing volume. The nervous anticipation of what will go wrong next is fading. For a long time, your nervous system was in survival mode. You were braced for impact, waiting for the next disappointment, the next loss, the next betrayal. That tension becomes normal when you live in it long enough. But now something is softening. You are learning what safety feels like internally. You are discovering that not every quiet moment is the calm before a storm. Sometimes quiet is just peace. Responding instead of reacting is one of the clearest signs that you have healed. Reaction is fueled by old wounds. Response is guided by present awareness. You are moving from survival to stability. That shift changes everything. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to rooms that failed to recognize it. You are not chasing validation from people who could not see your value when it wasn't yet obvious. You have stopped trying to convince others of what you now know internally. There is a calm confidence growing in you. It is not loud. It does not boast. It does not demand attention. It simply exists. It knows. You are not scrambling for a seat at the table anymore. You are building your own. And the people who are meant to sit with you will recognize the invitation without you begging them to come. This is what alignment looks like. You are attracting differently because you are operating differently. The striving that once defined your movement is being replaced by intention. The hustle rooted in fear is being replaced by action rooted in clarity. Doors are opening not because you are pounding on them, but because you are prepared for what is behind them. When you become the kind of person who can steward what you prayed for, what you prayed for begins to move toward you. And this is why I need you to stay aware. Do not minimize what is happening inside you. Do not dismiss it as a phase. This is not temporary motivation. This is integration. You are integrating the lessons, integrating the pain, integrating the wisdom, and from that integration, a new level of stability is forming. There will still be challenges. Growth does not eliminate difficulty, but you will meet those challenges from a different place, a grounded place, a whole place. You have not just changed, you have awakened, and the person you are becoming is not an invention. It is a revelation. You are not creating someone new. You are uncovering someone ancient within you, someone resilient, someone wise, someone capable of carrying influence without being consumed by it. This season did not break you. It revealed you. And as we move forward into the next part of this journey together, I want you to hold on to this truth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not overlooked. You were being built. And now the world is about to meet the version of you that the fire could not destroy. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a workshop hidden deep in the mountains. It's quiet there. No applause. No audience. Just the steady rhythm of tools shaping raw material into something strong and purposeful. Sparks rise into the air. Metal bends under heat. And what looks like destruction is actually design. That workshop is a picture of what has been happening in your life. While you thought you were losing pieces of yourself, something greater was being formed. There were relationships that ended in confusion. Opportunities that slipped through your fingers just when you thought they were finally yours. Plans that unraveled at the worst possible time. You may have called it bad timing. You may have called it misfortune. You may have even questioned whether you were cursed or forgotten. But what if those losses were actually protection? Not every door that closes is rejection. Some doors close because they would have led you into rooms you were not meant to stay in. Some opportunities disappear because they would have drained you, not fulfilled you. Some relationships end because they were tied to an older version of you, one that you are quietly outgrowing. Growth often feels like loss before it feels like gain. Think about the things you used to tolerate. The way you would overextend yourself just to be accepted. The way you would say yes when your spirit was screaming no. The way you would compromise your peace to maintain connection. You told yourself it was kindness. You told yourself it was loyalty. But deep down, it was fear of being left. And now you hesitate before saying yes. Now you check in with yourself before committing. Now you value your peace enough to protect it. That shift did not come from a motivational quote. It came from experience. It came from exhaustion. It came from finally realizing that abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable is not love. It is self-betrayal. You had to feel the cost of that pattern before you could break it. There were nights when you replayed conversations over and over again in your head. You wondered if you said too much, if you said too little, if you were too intense, too quiet, too emotional, too detached. You were constantly adjusting yourself to match the expectations of others. But somewhere along the way, something changed. You got tired of performing. You got tired of shrinking, tired of over-explaining, tired of being the one who always understood everyone else while no one paused to understand you. That fatigue was not weakness. It was awakening. Sometimes clarity comes when you can no longer carry what isn't yours. You started noticing patterns. The same arguments, the same disappointments, the same dynamics playing out in different faces. And instead of blaming fate, you began to look inward. Not with shame, but with curiosity. Why do I keep attracting this? Why do I keep tolerating that? Why do I keep chasing what does not choose me? Those questions were not comfortable, but they were powerful. Self-awareness is the beginning of transformation, and you chose awareness over denial. You chose responsibility over victimhood. That choice is what separates growth from stagnation. You began setting boundaries. At first, it felt unnatural. Your voice shook, your heart raced. You worried people would leave. Some did, and that hurt. But something else happened too. You stayed. You stayed with yourself. You did not collapse back into old habits to avoid discomfort. You did not immediately apologize for honoring your limits. You allowed the space to exist. And in that space, you discovered something life-changing. The right people do not require you to betray yourself to stay connected. That realization rewired you. You are no longer chasing intensity and calling it love. You are no longer confusing chaos for passion. You are no longer equating unpredictability with excitement. You are learning that peace can feel unfamiliar at first because you were conditioned to equate calm with boredom. But peace is not boring. It is stable, and stability is sacred. There were moments this season when everything slowed down. Your social life quieted. Your ambitions felt foggy. Even your energy seemed different. You wondered if you were losing momentum. You compared yourself to others who seemed to be accelerating. But slowing down was not regression. It was recalibration. You cannot hear your intuition in constant noise. You cannot rebuild yourself while running at full speed. You needed stillness. You needed space. You needed distance from the voices that were louder than your own. In the quiet, truth surfaced. You realized some goals were never truly yours. They were inherited expectations, cultural scripts, family pressures, social comparisons. You were climbing ladders that leaned against walls you did not even want to reach. It takes courage to admit that. You began asking deeper questions. What actually fulfills me? What kind of life feels aligned? Who am I when I am not trying to impress anyone? These are not surface-level questions. They disrupt everything. They require you to detach from identities you have carried for years. But they also lead you home. There is a difference between living a life that looks successful and living a life that feels meaningful. For a long time, you were focused on appearance. Now you are focused on alignment. That shift changes your decisions. You are less reactive, less desperate, less easily swayed. You are learning to sit with uncertainty without rushing into the first available option. You are allowing clarity to develop instead of forcing outcomes. That patience is new for you. There was a time when you would have filled every empty space. If a relationship ended, you rushed into another. If a job disappointed you, you grabbed the next offer without reflection. If a dream crumbled, you immediately replaced it with a distraction. Now you wait. Waiting is uncomfortable. It exposes loneliness. It confronts insecurity. It tests faith. But it also strengthens discernment. It teaches you to distinguish between what is available and what is right. You are no longer afraid of being alone with your thoughts. That is growth. This season also revealed your resilience. There were setbacks that could have shattered your confidence completely. There were criticisms that could have silenced your voice. There were betrayals that could have hardened your heart permanently. But instead of closing off, you softened strategically. You became wiser without becoming colder. You became cautious without becoming paranoid. You became selective without becoming isolated. That balance is maturity. You are not as easily impressed anymore. You value consistency over charisma, integrity over intensity, depth over drama. You are drawn to substance now, and that shift affects everything. Your conversations are different. Your standards are different. Even your prayers are different. You are no longer begging for quick fixes. You are asking for strength, clarity, and alignment. You are less focused on immediate relief and more focused on long-term transformation. That evolution did not happen overnight. It happened through tears, through journaling, through therapy sessions, through difficult conversations, through sitting in silence when every part of you wanted to run. It happened because you chose to face yourself instead of escaping yourself. And that is rare. Many people spend their entire lives avoiding introspection. They repeat cycles and blame circumstances. They numb discomfort and call it coping. But you decided to confront what hurt. You decided to heal what was hidden. Healing is not glamorous. It does not always look strong. Sometimes it looks like crying on your bedroom floor. Sometimes it looks like canceling plans because your energy is low. Sometimes it looks like saying no to people who expect your yes. But every one of those moments was strengthening your foundation. You are building a life that can hold your future. That is why some things had to fall apart. A weak foundation cannot support a higher calling. Old beliefs cannot sustain new levels of responsibility. Outdated identities cannot carry expanded purpose. You had to outgrow yourself. And outgrowing yourself can feel like grief. You grieve who you used to be. The naivety, the comfort, the familiar chaos. Even the unhealthy patterns had a strange familiarity that felt safe. Letting go of them feels like stepping into unknown territory. But unknown does not mean unsafe. It means uncharted. You are charting new territory now. You are learning who you are without the noise, without the performance, without the constant need for validation. And in that discovery, a deeper confidence is forming. Not the kind that shouts, the kind that stands. You do not need everyone to agree with you anymore. You do not need everyone to understand you. You are comfortable being misunderstood if it means being authentic. That is freedom. This workshop season may not have looked impressive from the outside. It may not have come with visible rewards or immediate recognition. But internally, you have been refined. The metal has been tested. The weak spots have been reinforced. The unnecessary weight has been removed. And now you are stronger without being rigid, softer without being fragile, independent without being isolated. You are becoming someone who does not just survive storms but learns from them. Someone who does not just endure pain but transforms through it. The workshop is still active. Growth never truly stops. But the most intense phase of reshaping is behind you. You can feel it. There is a steadiness now, a quiet assurance that you are not who you used to be. And that is not something to fear. It is something to honor, because the version of you emerging from this hidden season is not accidental. It is intentional. It is prepared. It is aligned. And you are only beginning to see what that alignment will unlock. There comes a moment in every transformation where the internal shift begins to show externally. It's subtle at first. You walk into a room and something feels different. Not because the room changed, but because you did. Your posture is straighter. Your energy is calmer. You are no longer scanning the environment for approval or threat. You are simply present. That presence is power. For years, you may have lived slightly disconnected from yourself. Your mind was always ahead, worrying about the future, or behind, replaying the past. Rarely fully here, rarely fully grounded. Survival mode does that. It pulls you out of the moment and traps you in anticipation. But now, you are learning to inhabit your own life. You are noticing small details again. The way the morning light hits your window, the rhythm of your breath when you are not rushing, the tone of your own inner voice. And that inner voice has changed. It is less critical, less frantic, more measured. You are no longer your harshest judge. That shift alone is revolutionary. There was a time when one mistake would spiral into self-condemnation. One rejection would confirm every insecurity. One delay would feel like proof that you were failing. Your internal dialogue was relentless. It pushed you to achieve, but it also drained you. Now you are practicing compassion with yourself. You still have standards. You still desire growth, but you are no longer motivating yourself through shame. You are motivating yourself through vision. There is a difference. Shame says, you are not enough. Vision says, there is more available to you. You are responding to vision now. This new version of you is not perfect. You still have moments of doubt. You still feel uncertainty. But doubt no longer controls you. It visits, and then it passes. It does not build a permanent residence in your mind. You have learned to observe your thoughts without becoming them. That is emotional intelligence. You are beginning to understand your triggers instead of being ruled by them. When something irritates you, you pause. When something hurts, you ask why. You are tracing reactions back to their roots instead of projecting them onto others. This level of awareness changes your relationships. You are communicating differently, more clearly, more directly. You are no longer expecting people to read your mind. You are no longer suppressing feelings until they explode. You are expressing yourself in real time, even when it feels vulnerable. Vulnerability used to feel dangerous. Now it feels honest. And honesty is liberating. There was a time when you equated strength with emotional suppression. You believed that holding everything in made you resilient, but that kind of resilience cracks under pressure. True resilience allows for softness. It allows for tears. It allows for admission. You are no longer pretending to have it all together. Ironically, that authenticity makes you stronger. People are beginning to respond to you differently. Some are drawn to your grounded energy. They feel safe around you. Others are uncomfortable. Your boundaries challenge them. Your clarity exposes their confusion. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Not everyone will celebrate your evolution, but that is no longer your concern. You have stopped shrinking to maintain comfort in others. You understand now that discomfort is sometimes necessary for growth. If someone feels unsettled by your boundaries, that is an invitation for them to reflect, not for you to retreat. You are no longer negotiating your worth. This is especially evident in your standards. You are no longer accepting half-effort connections. You are no longer entertaining conversations that drain your spirit. You are no longer investing in spaces where you are tolerated instead of valued. That discernment came from experience. You have seen what happens when you ignore red flags. You have felt the consequences of giving too much to people who were unwilling to reciprocate. You have learned that potential is not the same as reality. Now you evaluate based on consistency. Words matter less. Actions matter more. Promises mean nothing without follow-through. You are paying attention to patterns instead of isolated moments. This awareness protects your peace. There is also a shift in how you handle success. In the past, you might have tied your identity to achievements. When you succeeded, you felt worthy. When you failed, you felt inadequate. Your self-esteem fluctuated with outcomes. Now, you see success differently. You still strive. You still work hard. But your sense of worth is not hanging in the balance of every result. You understand that outcomes are influenced by timing, alignment, and variables beyond your control. You focus on effort, on integrity, on showing up fully, and that steadiness makes your progress sustainable. You are building something that is not fueled by adrenaline or desperation. It is fueled by intention, by clarity, by alignment. That kind of progress may appear slower from the outside, but it is stronger at the core. You are no longer rushing your journey. This is significant because impatience used to be your default. You wanted everything immediately. If something did not happen quickly, you questioned yourself. You compared your timeline to others. You felt behind. But comparison is losing its grip on you. You are beginning to understand that timelines are not universal. What is early for one person is late for another. What is a breakthrough for someone else may not even align with your path. You are releasing the pressure to keep up. You are focusing on staying aligned. Alignment requires self-trust. And self-trust has been one of your greatest lessons. There were times you ignored your intuition because you doubted it. You asked for external opinions on decisions your spirit had already answered. Now, you listen inward first. You still seek wisdom. You still value counsel. But you no longer override your inner, knowing to accommodate external noise. You are strengthening the muscle of discernment. The more you honor your intuition, the louder it becomes. There is a quiet confidence forming within you. It does not need validation. It does not need applause. It is not concerned with being seen as impressive. It is concerned with being authentic. You are less interested in being admired and more interested in being aligned. This shift also changes how you handle setbacks. When something does not work out, you no longer immediately internalize it as personal failure. You evaluate, you learn, you adjust. But you do not collapse. You understand now that redirection is not rejection. Some opportunities close because they are misaligned. Some relationships end because they have served their purpose. Some dreams dissolve because they were stepping stones, not destinations. You are beginning to see life as a series of refinements. Each experience is shaping you. Each challenge is strengthening you. Each disappointment is clarifying you. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you are asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question keeps you empowered. There is also a deeper spiritual awareness unfolding. You are sensing that your growth is not random, that the timing of events, the people who entered and exited your life, the doors that opened and closed, all carry intention. You may not have full clarity yet, but you feel guided. Moments of synchronicity catch your attention. Conversations confirm thoughts you have been processing privately. Opportunities arise that align with the internal shifts you have made. It feels as though your external world is beginning to reflect your internal evolution. That is alignment in motion. But with alignment comes responsibility. As you become more aware, you can no longer claim ignorance. You cannot pretend not to see red flags. You cannot unlearn lessons. You cannot return to old patterns without feeling the dissonance. Growth raises your standards for yourself. You are more accountable now, more intentional, more conscious of your impact. You understand that your energy affects rooms. Your words affect hearts. Your presence carries weight. You are no longer careless with it. You are curating your environment carefully. The content you consume, the conversations you entertain, the spaces you frequent. You are protecting your mind and spirit because you understand how easily influence seeps in. This level of awareness is not paranoia. It is stewardship. You are stewarding your peace, your time, your energy. You are recognizing that these are finite resources, and you are spending them wisely. And perhaps most importantly, you are forgiving yourself for staying too long, for leaving too late, for not knowing what you know now. You are releasing shame tied to past decisions. You are understanding that you made choices based on the awareness you had at the time. Growth does not require self-punishment. It requires self-reflection. You are choosing reflection. As this section of your journey unfolds, there is a sense that you are standing on new ground. It may not be fully built yet. There may still be areas under construction, but the foundation feels solid. You trust yourself more. You trust the process more. You trust the timing more. That trust changes how you move. You are no longer chasing. You are attracting. You are no longer forcing. You are allowing. You are no longer scrambling. You are building. And the person you are becoming is not driven by fear of lack, but by awareness of abundance. Not abundance in material terms alone, but abundance in possibility, in clarity, in resilience. This is not the end of your transformation. It is the beginning of a new level of it. You are stepping into a version of yourself that operates from wholeness instead of wounds, from wisdom instead of impulse, from alignment instead of anxiety. And as you continue forward, one truth becomes undeniable. You are not evolving by accident. You are evolving on purpose. There is a sacred threshold in every transformation, a point where you realize you cannot return to who you used to be. Even if you tried, it would not fit. The conversations would feel shallow. The environments would feel restrictive. The habits would feel heavy. You have crossed that threshold. It did not happen loudly. There was no announcement, no dramatic turning point. It happened quietly, through a series of decisions that seemed small at the time. Choosing rest instead of overworking. Choosing honesty instead of silence. Choosing solitude instead of chaotic company. But small decisions, repeated consistently, create irreversible change. You are no longer impressed by things that once captivated you. The need to prove yourself has softened. The urgency to compete has faded. You have seen enough of life to know that speed does not equal success and attention does not equal value. Depth does. You are craving depth now. Depth in conversation. Depth in connection. Depth in purpose. Surface-level interactions feel exhausting. You do not want to talk just to fill silence. You want to speak with intention. This desire for depth is not isolation. It is refinement. There was a time when you feared outgrowing people. You worried that your evolution would leave you alone. So you dimmed your curiosity. You limited your expansion. You pretended not to see what you were seeing because growth felt threatening to stability. But stability built on suppression is not stability at all. Now, you understand that growth will naturally recalibrate your relationships. Some will stretch with you. Some will step away. Some will reappear later at a different level of understanding. And that is okay. You are no longer clinging. Clinging used to feel like loyalty. But loyalty without mutual growth becomes attachment to stagnation. You have learned to love without losing yourself, to support without overextending, to care without controlling. This emotional balance is new territory. You are also becoming more comfortable with silence, not just external silence, but internal silence. The constant mental chatter that once filled every moment has softened. You no longer feel compelled to solve everything immediately. You are allowing space between thought and reaction. In that space, wisdom grows. There were seasons when your mind felt like a battlefield, overthinking every detail, imagining worst-case scenarios, preparing for problems that never came. Anxiety had convinced you that vigilance was protection. But vigilance is exhausting. Now you are practicing surrender, not passive surrender, but conscious surrender. The kind that says, I will do my part, and I will release what is beyond my control. This shift has reduced the weight you carry. You are no longer trying to manage outcomes that are not yours to manage. There is also a noticeable change in how you handle conflict. In the past, disagreement may have triggered defensiveness. You felt the need to justify yourself immediately, to win the argument, to prove your perspective. Now, you are more curious than combative. You listen, you assess, you respond instead of react. You recognize that being right is less important than being aligned. If a conversation becomes unproductive, you disengage without drama. You do not need the last word to feel secure. That restraint is strength. This stage of your journey is teaching you the power of neutrality. Not indifference, but emotional neutrality. The ability to observe situations without being consumed by them. The ability to care without becoming entangled. You are detaching from outcomes while remaining committed to effort. That balance is transforming your work, your relationships, your inner life. You are setting goals from a place of inspiration rather than insecurity. You are building dreams that reflect your authenticity rather than your need for validation. Validation used to drive many of your decisions. You wanted to be seen as successful, capable, admirable. But now, you are more concerned with being at peace. If success costs your integrity, it is no longer appealing. If admiration requires performance, it is no longer worth it. Peace has become your compass, and peace does not shout. It whispers. It guides you away from environments that feel chaotic. It nudges you toward routines that feel grounding. It invites you into rhythms that sustain rather than drain you. You are learning to honor those whispers. There was a time when you ignored subtle discomfort. You told yourself you were overthinking. You dismissed your intuition. You stayed in places that felt misaligned because leaving seemed inconvenient. But misalignment always collects interest. The longer you stay where you do not belong, the heavier it feels. The more your body resists, the more your spirit signals. Now you are paying attention earlier. You are making adjustments before crisis forces them. That is maturity. You are also redefining productivity. You once measured your worth by how much you accomplished in a day. Rest felt like laziness. Slowness felt like failure. You were constantly pushing. Now you understand that rest is strategic. You see that creativity requires space. That clarity requires stillness. That strength requires recovery. You are no longer glorifying burnout. You are building sustainability. This shift has changed your pace. You move with intention rather than urgency. You prioritize what truly matters rather than what is simply loud. You are less reactive to external pressure. Deadlines still exist. Responsibilities still require attention, but you are not operating from panic. You are operating from purpose. Purpose feels different from ambition. Ambition is often fueled by comparison. Purpose is fueled by conviction. Ambition seeks applause. Purpose seeks impact. You are transitioning from ambition to purpose. This transition has made you more selective with your time. You are saying no more often. Not out of arrogance, but out of awareness. Every yes carries a cost. Every commitment requires energy. You are choosing carefully. You are beginning to understand the value of your presence. Your presence is not something to scatter carelessly. It is not something to offer where it is not appreciated. You are learning that being accessible to everyone can make you available to no one, including yourself. So you are protecting your schedule, your mental space, your emotional bandwidth. This protection is not isolation. It is preparation. You sense that you are being prepared for something larger, not necessarily louder or more public, but more aligned. There is a subtle anticipation in your spirit, a knowing that the internal shifts are leading somewhere meaningful. You may not see the full picture yet, but you trust the process more than you used to. Trust used to feel risky. You relied heavily on control because control felt safer. But control also limited you. It narrowed possibilities. It created tension. Now you are experimenting with trust. Trust in your growth. Trust in timing. Trust that what is meant for you will not require you to abandon yourself. This trust is freeing. You are less anxious about being chosen because you are choosing yourself. You are less afraid of being overlooked because you know your value does not decrease in someone else's absence of recognition. You are rooted. And rooted people are not easily shaken. That does not mean challenges disappear. It means challenges do not destabilize you as deeply. You recover faster. You reflect more quickly. You recalibrate with intention. Resilience is becoming your default. There is also a spiritual steadiness developing within you. Moments of prayer or reflection feel deeper, not rushed, not transactional. You are not approaching the divine only when you need something. You are cultivating connection consistently. This consistency strengthens your faith. Faith is no longer about immediate answers. It is about sustained trust. It is about believing that even delays are directional, that even silence carries guidance, that even uncertainty holds purpose. You are walking more confidently into uncertainty now. This is a powerful stage of your evolution. You are not who you were, but you are not yet fully who you are becoming. You are in between, and instead of resisting this in-between space, you are learning to honor it. The in-between is sacred. It is where clarity deepens, where intentions solidify, where foundations strengthen. It is not a pause, it is preparation. And as you stand here, more self-aware, more grounded, more intentional, you begin to realize something profound. You are no longer becoming by accident, you are becoming by design. There is a powerful realization that comes at the end of every deep transformation. You are not waiting for your life to begin anymore. You are living it now. For so long, it may have felt like you were in preparation mode. Healing, learning, releasing, rebuilding. It seemed like everything was leading somewhere, but you could not yet see the destination. You kept telling yourself, once I fix this, once I reach that, once I become more ready, then my real life will start. But this right here is your real life. The growth was not a detour. The delays were not distractions. The waiting seasons were not wasted time. They were construction zones. And now you are walking into a chapter that feels different because you are different. You no longer feel the same urgency to escape your present. You are not constantly fantasizing about a future version of yourself who finally has it all together. You understand now that wholeness is not a destination you arrive at fully formed. It is something you practice daily, and you are practicing it. You are showing up more fully in your own story, not as a side character in someone else's narrative, not as a background supporter to everyone else's dreams, but as the main participant in your own becoming. That shift is subtle but life-changing. You are no longer postponing joy. There were years when you told yourself you would relax later, celebrate later, enjoy later, after the next achievement, after the next milestone, after the next crisis passed. But life does not pause between milestones. So now you are finding joy in smaller moments, in quiet mornings, in meaningful conversations, in personal breakthroughs that no one else sees. You are allowing yourself to feel proud of growth that may not be visible to the world. You have become your own witness. That matters because external validation is inconsistent. Applause fades. Attention shifts. But when you recognize your own progress, it creates a stable source of confidence. You are building from within now. There is also a noticeable peace in how you approach uncertainty. The future is still unknown. Goals are still unfolding. Plans are still developing. But the anxiety that once surrounded the unknown has softened. You have survived enough to trust your resilience. You have faced disappointment and rebuilt. You have experienced loss and recovered. You have navigated confusion and found clarity. Those experiences are evidence. Evidence that whatever comes next, you will meet it with wisdom you did not have before. You are not the same person who once felt overwhelmed by every obstacle. You have perspective now. Perspective allows you to see challenges as chapters rather than conclusions. A setback is not the end of your story. A delay is not proof of inadequacy. A closed door is not a final verdict. You understand timing better. There were things you once desperately wanted that, in hindsight, would have disrupted your path. Opportunities you mourned losing that now feel like protection. Relationships you fought to keep that, had they lasted, would have limited your expansion. Clarity has rewritten your memories. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. What once felt like punishment now feels like preparation. You are no longer angry at your past. You are grateful for it. Gratitude is changing your energy. You are less bitter, less defensive, less reactive. You do not carry the same emotional weight. Forgiveness has loosened its grip on your heart. Not just forgiveness for others, but forgiveness for yourself. You are releasing the version of you who did not know better. And in doing so, you are stepping more confidently into the version of you who does. This final stage of your recent transformation is not loud. It is grounded. It is steady. It is mature. You are not making dramatic declarations. You are making consistent decisions. You wake up and choose alignment. You wake up and choose integrity. You wake up and choose growth. These daily choices are shaping a life that feels intentional. You are also recognizing that purpose is not always grand or public. Sometimes purpose is quiet. It is how you treat people, how you respond under pressure, how you carry yourself when no one is watching. You are becoming someone who is trustworthy, not just to others, but to yourself. That self-trust is everything. When you trust yourself, you stop second-guessing every move. You stop outsourcing every decision. You stop living in constant doubt. You move with clarity, even when the path is not fully illuminated. And the path ahead may not be fully illuminated. There may still be questions. There may still be unknowns. But you are no longer intimidated by that. You understand now that growth is continuous. This chapter is not about arriving at perfection. It is about embodying progress. You are integrating the lessons you learned in silence. You are applying the boundaries you practiced in isolation. You are expressing the confidence you cultivated in private. The inner work is becoming visible in your outer life. People may notice the change. They may comment on your calmness, your focus, your strength. Some will ask what shifted. Some will simply observe. But whether they understand or not is secondary. You know what it took. You know the nights you questioned everything, the moments you wanted to give up, the conversations you rehearsed before finally speaking your truth, the tears you cried when no one was around. That history is part of your foundation. And because of that foundation, you are not easily shaken by surface-level challenges anymore. You have depth. You have substance. You have endured enough to recognize your own capacity. You are no longer underestimating yourself. There was a time when you doubted your ability to handle pressure. You feared responsibility. You hesitated to step into larger roles because you were unsure if you were ready. Now, you are less concerned with feeling ready and more committed to being willing. willing to learn, willing to adapt, willing to grow. Readiness is often revealed in motion, not in waiting. And you are moving now, not recklessly, not impulsively, but intentionally. You are building relationships that reflect your standards, pursuing goals that align with your values, creating routines that support your well-being. You are no longer building a life that looks impressive but feels empty. You are building a life that feels aligned. Alignment brings fulfillment in ways external success never could. It allows you to rest at night without internal conflict. It allows you to celebrate progress without comparison. It allows you to move forward without constantly looking over your shoulder. You are forward-facing now. The past no longer pulls at you with the same intensity. Memories exist, but they do not control you. Regrets surface, but they do not define you. You have integrated your history instead of being haunted by it. Integration is powerful. It means you can acknowledge where you came from without being trapped there. You can honor the lessons without reliving the pain. You can remember who you were without wanting to return. And because you are integrated, you are whole. Wholeness does not mean flawlessness. It means acceptance. It means recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses and still choosing to move forward. It means embracing complexity without shame. You are embracing yourself more fully now. This self-acceptance radiates outward. It influences how you speak, how you lead, how you love. You are no longer seeking completion from others. You are sharing from fullness. That changes everything. Connections feel healthier because they are not rooted in need. Work feels more meaningful because it is not rooted in insecurity. Ambition feels cleaner because it is not rooted in comparison. You are operating from wholeness. And as this chapter solidifies, one truth becomes cleared. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing out. You were becoming. Every delay, every detour, every difficult season was shaping the person you are now. Someone more grounded, more discerning, more resilient, more aligned. And this version of you is ready. Ready not because everything is perfect, but because you are anchored. Ready not because fear is gone, but because courage is stronger. Ready not because the path is clear, but because you trust yourself to walk it. This is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of a life lived consciously, a life lived intentionally, a life lived fully awake. And you are stepping into it, not as who you used to be, but as who you have fought, healed, and grown to become.